Hey there, Hootlings, and welcome back to another episode of Shoot the Hoot RAW. I'm your host, your hype owl, your co-pilot in compliance, Chuck Taylor. And today, we're busting the myth that policies have to be, well, boring. This episode is called Compliance Without the Yawn, Making Policies Work for People. Because, let's be real, most policies are written by lawyers for auditors, and then dropped on the users like a 47-page snooze fest. Boom. Today, we're flipping that on its beat. We'll show you how to make policies stick, how to automate the boring parts, and how to teach the users the why so they actually comply. Yes, even Carl. So fluff those feathers, grab your compliance coffee, and get ready, because it's time for today's Hoot Flight Plan. All right, folks, here's what's on today's compliance in-flight menu. So tray tables up, eyes forward, and please, no sleeping during policy talk. I'm looking at you, Carl. First, we'll kick things off with a 5-minute rant about why policies are so boring, they should come with a melatonin shot, or a melatonin warning at least. And more importantly, how to make them actually work for humans. Then it's time for your CyberHoot nerd update. And yes, we've had a quiet week of code, but the owls have been steaming. Big features are on the horizon. After that, it's open mic Q&A, where you bring the compliance confessions, and I pretend to be shocked. Finally, we land this hoot with a hoot-worthy horror story. One audit, one disaster, and one big lesson on why policies are more than just legal wallpaper. Buckle up. It's going to be a hoot and ride. All right. Okay, so let's face it. Most employees don't read policies. Not because they're lazy, but because most policies read like War and Peace translated into legalese and then dropped on their desk like a pop quiz. In fact, 31% of employees say they actually read their compliance policies. Only 31%. I know, pretty bad. The rest, well, they skim, nod, and click accept faster than Carl agrees to free donuts in the break room. But here's the twist. Policies do matter. They're important. They're your legal armor in an audit, your rulebook during a breach, and your go-to playbook when Carl installs a sketchy browser extension named freecryptomagic.exe. So why do users ignore them? Well, one, they're too long. Two, they're too boring. And three, they're too disconnected from reality. It's not that people don't care. It's not that. It's that policies aren't written or delivered with humans in mind. So today, we're going to fix that. Because if we want policies to stick, they've got to stop sounding like they were written by a committee of sleep-deprived robots. Let's be honest. Most users don't read policies because they look like legal contracts. They could double as doorsteps, right? So we don't just read them because they're not fun. They're long. They're boring. They're horrible. The average corporate policy is about 6,000 plus words long. Right? Yeah, longer than most college essays and none of the drama. So how do you fix it? So how do we fix it? One, here are a few tips. One, we're going to stick to legalese. If a sentence makes you feel like you passed the bar exam, cut it. All right? Two, use bullets. We love bullets, right? They're easier to skim and don't intimidate the eye. Everyone says use bullets, use bullets. Three, stick with what matters. What should I do? What should I never do? Who do I call when Carl violates all of it? And lastly, four, write like a human. You're not writing for a judge. You're writing for Janet in accounting who just wants to know if she can use Dropbox. Don't make it tough. Now, fun stat, 70% of employees say they've skimmed or ignored policies due to length and jargon. And who has two thumbs as part of that 70%? This guy. I see a long policy, I'm not reading it. Actually, one of my famous things always to say is TLDR, not happening. I'm going to trust this is right. So what it basically means is shorter equals more likely to read, and policies that get read get followed. Now, let's talk about what happens when you do write good policies, but still try to manage them with spreadsheets. So manual policy management is like doing your taxes with a typewriter. You're juggling spreadsheets, email reminders, and you're chasing Carl down the hallway with for a wet ink signature. It's slow, it's messy, and totally unscalable. 82% of organizations still rely on manual processes to manage policies, and it shows. Missed signatures, outdated versions, compliance confusion. It's a perfect storm for audit anxiety. And let's be honest, who enjoys digging through a shared drive for the final underscore policies underscore version 3 underscore really underscore final underscore this underscore time .doc, right? Or who wants to print out 47 pages just to get a half asleep scribble from Carl? Not worth it. Manual management leads to lost documents, missed deadlines, miscommunications, and migraines, right? It's not just inefficient, it's risky. That's why we ditch the clipboards and build a better way. Let me show you what that looks like. Manual policy management is out. Automation, that's where the magic happens. With CyberHoot Autopilot, you can assign policies to the right users, remind them without lifting a finger. You can track every signature and status in real time. And when Carl forgets for the 3rd week in a row, Autopilot sends him a polite but persistent nudge, right? No clipboard, no stress, no hallway chase scenes. Best part, stat alert. Going back and forth with these banners sometimes is a little bit tricky. So stat alert, organizations that automate policy workflows are 57% more likely to meet compliance deadlines and spend 40% less time chasing approvals. And the best part, CyberHoot timestamps every signature, gives you version control, packages it up neatly for your next audit. So set it, forget it, and sleep like an owl. Sorry, I'm bouncing around different banners and stuff here to get ready, so work with me here. All right, here's the truth. Here's the truth. Telling people what to do isn't enough. If the why isn't clear, the policy flies past their brain straight to the mental recycling bin, right next to don't microwave fish in the break room. For example, you tell Carl, don't reuse passwords. He nods, then uses Carl 123 exclamation point on everything from work email to his fantasy football login. But if you explain that password reuse led to 81% of hacking-related breaches last year, suddenly Carl's listening, maybe even installing a password manager. Because understanding equals buy-in. It's not about steering users. It's about connecting the dots between their behavior and the bigger picture. When users know why MFA matters, why updates are important, why they shouldn't plug in mystery USBs from the parking lot, they stop being roadblocks and start becoming your first responders. Education turns compliance from a checkbox into a choice. So when you combine clarity with purpose, policies go from ignored to instinctual. That's how we can help our users stop clicking blindly and start clicking wisely. But speaking of smart moves, let's check in on what our DevAls have been looking and hooting up behind the scenes in this week's CyberHoot Nerd Update. Buckle up, it's nerd time. Oh, sorry, I missed that slide there. There's a slide. Teach the why, why not just the what? Sorry about that. I told you the banners and stuff, it's a lot. All right, CyberHoot Nerd Update. Okay. Let's address the feathers in the room. 2 weeks, no code drop. We know. It never happens. But hey, even our DevOps needed a little R&R to reboot their brains and uncramp their typing claws. So vacations were had, snacks were consumed, maybe even a few margaritas. But now we're gearing up to hoot hard next week. Here's what's about to drop. Training frame requests in Autopilot. Yep, users can soon buddy up, view each other's training scores, and climb the leaderboard together. Gamified learning? Check. Peer pressure? Optional. Carl, consider yourself warned. Platform optimizations. We're tuning the engine underneath the hood. Expect faster clicks, snappier pages, and fewer spinning hours of doom. Programs in Autopilot. Yes, you'll soon be able to assign entire product training paths, onboard teams, and build custom learning programs at the custom Hoot level. Think of it like playlists, but for your cybersecurity brilliance. And a little more insight, we've been looking to add grouping to Autopilot as well, so you can easily assign out your custom Hoots. That, along with some naming convention changes, are on their way. So, while it's been a couple of quiet weeks, very unlike us, next week we'll be squawking, clicking, and launching like never before. Thank you. All right. That's your sneak peek at what's shooting on the dev front. Now, it's your turn to take the mic. Let's open up the floor for questions, comments, or confessions. It's Q&A time. All right, let's see what questions you have. Your question can't be, how come Chuck's having a hard time jumping between banners, slides, and media assets? All right, first question. Let's see. Interesting one. How do you balance enforcing policies without becoming the no fun allowed department? Ah, yes, a common fear. The trick is shifting from enforcement to enablement. When users understand that policies aren't here to ruin their day, they're here to protect their job, their data, and their customers, the tone changes. At CyberHoot, we use bite-sized training, automated nudges, and plain English policies to make security less like a lecture and more like a GPS, guiding, not scolding. Positive reinforcement, remember. And hey, sprinkle in a few owl jokes, you might even get them to laugh and comply. All right. Question number 2. Okay, we send policies but no one reads them. What's one trick that actually works to get attention? All right, one word, context. Instead of just blasting a PDF titled acceptable use policy, try this. Kick it off with a 30-second explainer video, CyberHoot style. Tied into a real-world incident. This policy helps prevent this breach. And keep it short. Use summaries or highlight key takeaways at the top. And here's the bonus move. Gamify it. I mentioned it, gamify. Offer low recognition for your fastest readers or your quiz takers. People love a leaderboard, especially if they can beat Carl and beat their peers. So, all right. Any other questions here? Nope. Take that away. Okay, so we've had some laughs, probably more at me. Share some wisdom and hopefully help Carl figure out what a policy actually is. But now it's time to dim the lights, tighten those security belts, because this net story is a tale of unread policies, unchecked boxes, and the chaos that followed. Get some popcorn. It's real, it's rough, and yes, it's 100% Hoot-worthy. Let's get into it if you dare. But first, boom, our Hoot coupon alert. The first person to email ShootTheHoot@cyberhoot.com with the code policies10 gets 10% off their next invoice. So open that email client, click send, and get that 10. All right, policies10, send it over. All right. Okay, our Hoot-worthy horror story. So meet Valley Tech Company. They were growing fast, onboarding clients left and right, and feeling confident. Policies? Sort of. Training? Kind of. Proof of any of that? Then came the email that no one wants. You've been selected for a compliance audit. Sorry, I got a little animated there. That was funny. Anyways, so it feels like that. Just so you can cue the scramble in the office. Where's the acceptable use policy? Did employees sign the NDA? Wait. Did we even send the policy to the new hires? What followed was a chaotic game of document hide and seek across spreadsheets, email inboxes, and old servers named after Star Wars characters. Guilty. I used to name some of my servers Star Wars characters. So the result? Missed documentation, incomplete audit trail, and a big, ugly non-compliant stamp. The client who almost walked away. Why? because they had bad policies. Excuse me, not bad policies, because they had policies, but they had no process. They had bad process. They thought that compliance was a binder. Turns out it's a system. So what's the moral of the story? Policies aren't just paperwork. They're your audit armor, but only if they're signed, tracked, and enforced. So let's wrap this up with a few final thoughts and how you can put all of this into action starting today. So if there's a few things you can take away, it's these. Policies only work when people actually read and understand them. Bonus if you can help them understand the why. Automation makes all that possible, and education makes it stick. So CyberHoot ties it all together. We give you the tools, the training, and the vCISO guidance built for real humans. Yes, even Carl. We're making compliance less boring, more effective, and way easier for everyone involved. And in the words of Forrest Gump, that's all I have to say about that. So you got feedback, ideas, want to share your own compliance horror story, send it our way at ShootTheHoot@cyberhoot.com. Don't forget to flat back next week for another wild ride on Shoot the Hoot RAW, an episode where I'll try my best not to get tongue-tied, better with banners, etc. Now, I believe it's the last Tuesday of the month next month, so we have our one of our partners on. Brad Marsh will be joining us. I'll be asking him questions, throwing things his way, getting some of his feedback, and learning some of his habits and stuff that help him to be successful and to deliver and keep those CyberHoot servers running for you. So until then, stay secure, stay smart, and stay hooting. Hoot on. Hoot on.